November 20th, 1943, Bisio Island, Tarawa Atoll. Corporal William Dean crouches in the shell-torn ruins near Red Beach 2. His hands work the ammunition belt one final time. The M1919. A4 Browning sights mounted on its tripod, barrel pointed toward the smoke-filled horizon. 250 rounds of 30-06 ammunition wait to feed. Around him, other Marine machine gun crews check their weapons. The coral dust settles. The morning air tastes like salt and gunpowder. Then the ground trembles. Through the haze comes a sound that will echo in survivors' nightmares for decades. Hundreds of voices, hundreds of boots pounding coral. The Japanese counterattack has begun. Their Type 92 heavy machine guns fire in that distinctive, slow woodpecker rhythm. The Japanese crews struggle with their 122-pound weapons, feeding 30-round strips as fast as they can, while American M1919s pour out continuous streams of fire. Dean's finger hovers over the trigger. His weapon weighs 31 pounds. Simple, reliable, built by the same company that makes car steering wheels. He doesn't know that 7,000 miles away, in factories across Japan, engineers had spent years crafting something they believed was superior. Precision-fitted parts, meticulous craftsmanship, the Type 92 heavy machine gun. What happens in the next few minutes will be repeated across every island, every beach, every jungle trail in the Pacific. 2 machine guns, 2 philosophies of war. Only one will survive contact with reality. The M1919. Browning opens fire. The sound is a continuous roar. Not the slow talk of enemy guns, but a zipper of death ripping across the battlefield at 400 rounds per minute. Dean's assistant gunner feeds the belt smoothly. No fumbling with fragile metal strips. No pausing to reload every 30 rounds. Just continuous, mechanical, industrial killing. 50 yards away, a Japanese Type 92 crew struggles with their weapon. 122 pounds of steel and wood. Beautiful, really. Each part hand-fitted by skilled workers in Tokyo. The gunner fires a 30-round strip in quick bursts, precise, controlled, exactly as the manual instructs. Then the gun falls silent. Time to reload. The assistant gunner's hands shake as he tries to seat a new strip. The feed lips are bent. The humidity has made the metal swell slightly. 30 seconds pass. In 30 seconds, Dean's M1919 has sent 200 rounds downrange. The Japanese gun fires again. Another strip, another pause, another desperate reload under fire. Dean's gun never stops. This isn't a story about courage. Both sides had that in abundance. This is a story about a design decision made in 1919 by a Mormon gunsmith from Utah, a decision that would kill more men than any general strategy. John Moses Browning had fought in no wars. He'd never charged a beach or stormed a trench. But he understood something fundamental about modern combat that many military minds missed. Killing had become an industrial process. The side that could mechanize death most efficiently would win. The original concept emerged from the trenches of World War I. Browning's M1917 water-cooled machine gun had proven devastatingly effective in France, but it was heavy, cumbersome, required constant water supply to prevent the barrel from melting. The Army wanted something lighter, more mobile, something that could keep pace with the mechanized warfare they knew was coming. Browning's solution was elegant. Remove the water jacket, strengthen the barrel to handle air cooling, simplify everything. Make the tolerances loose enough that mud, sand, or carbon buildup wouldn't stop the weapon. Make it simple enough that a teenager with minimal training could operate it. Make it cheap enough to produce by the thousands. The gun that emerged weighed just 31 pounds without the tripod. The tripod added 14 more, 45 pounds total. A two-man team could carry it anywhere. The feeding system used cloth belts that could be linked together indefinitely. 250-round standard, but crews regularly connected multiple belts for sustained fire. The recoil-operated mechanism was brilliantly simple. As long as ammunition fed into the chamber, the gun would cycle. Pull the bolt handle twice, feed the belt from the left, squeeze the trigger. That was it. But simplicity wasn't the only genius. Browning designed the M1919 with loose tolerances. Precision gunsmiths criticized this. They said it reduced accuracy. They were right. At extreme range, the M1919 wasn't as precise as some contemporary designs. Browning didn't care. He knew that in actual combat, reliability mattered more than perfection. A gun that fired every time you pulled the trigger would beat a more accurate gun that jammed every single time. The American military embraced this philosophy completely. By 1941, when the Pacific War began, U.S. doctrine centered on overwhelming firepower. Every rifle company had machine guns. Every machine gun had unlimited ammunition. The goal wasn't marksmanship. It was suppression, domination, making the enemy keep their heads down while American forces maneuvered. The .30-06 Springfield cartridge completed the system. Adopted in 1906, this round had proven itself through decades of use, a 150-grain bullet traveling at 2,800 feet per second. Enough power to kill at 1,500 yards, enough energy to penetrate light cover, and most importantly, American factories could produce it in staggering quantities. By 1944, more than 10 billion rounds annually. Then there was the other gun. The Japanese Type 92 heavy machine gun emerged from a completely different philosophical tradition. Named for the imperial year 2592, which corresponded to 1932 in the Western calendar, the weapon represented Japan's attempt to modernize based on French Hotchkiss designs they'd licensed decades earlier. The gun fired a 7.7 millimeter cartridge, ballistically superior to Japan's earlier smaller rounds. On paper, it looked impressive. In reality, it was a peacetime weapon forced into an industrial war it was never designed to fight. The Type 92 was built with the precision of a luxury watch, each component hand-fitted by skilled craftsmen. The parts weren't interchangeable between guns. A replacement piece from one Type 92 might not fit another without careful filing and adjustment. This level of craftsmanship reflected samurai traditions. The idea that weapons should be works of art. That individual quality mattered more than mass production. This philosophy proved catastrophic. The gun weighed 122 pounds with its tripod, 77 pounds heavier than the M1919. This wasn't just inconvenient. It was tactically crippling. A Japanese machine gun crew couldn't rapidly reposition. Once emplaced, they became a fixed target. American mortars and artillery could obliterate them before they could displace. But weight was just the beginning of the Type 92's problems. The feeding system used 30-round metallic strips instead of cloth belts. Each strip was fragile. Rough handling bent them, humidity rusted them. And worst of all, they ran out fast. At the weapon's rate of fire of 450 rounds per minute, a strip lasted 4 seconds. Then came the reload. Unlike the M1919's simple belt-fed system, where an assistant gunner could just keep feeding, the Type 92 required removing the spent strip, carefully aligning a new one, and hoping the feed lips weren't damaged. In combat, those seconds were fatal. Then there was the oil pump. This was the Type 92's most infamous feature. The gun incorporated an internal pump that lubricated each cartridge as it fed into the chamber. The engineers had added this to compensate for extraction issues in the original Hotchkiss design. In theory, it ensured smooth operation. In practice, it attracted every particle of dirt, sand, and debris on the battlefield. In the jungles of Guadalcanal, the oil mixed with plant matter and moisture to create a paste that seized the mechanism. On the coral atolls like Tarawa and Peleliu, fine sand combined with the lubricant to form an abrasive compound that destroyed the precisely fitted parts. American Marines learned to listen for the silence. The Type 92's distinctive slow-firing rhythm, which earned it the nickname Woodpecker, would suddenly stop, jammed again. Those moments of silence became opportunities. Time to advance. Time to flank. Time to kill the crew, desperately trying to clear their weapon. Back on Tarawa, Dean's M1919 has been firing for 90 seconds straight. The barrel is heating up, but it's designed for this. Air-cooled, simple. The assistant gunner has a spare barrel ready if needed, though they won't need it yet. The belt keeps feeding, the bolt keeps cycling, the bullets keep flying. The mathematics are brutal. In 90 seconds, Dean's gun has sent 600 rounds toward the Japanese positions. A Type 92 crew in the same time frame has fired 3 30-round strips and is desperately trying to load a fourth. 90 rounds total, with 6 reloads under fire. This isn't a fair fight. It was never meant to be. The disparity extends beyond the battlefield to the factories. By 1943, General Motors' Saginaw Steering Gear Division is producing M1919 machine guns, using the same assembly line techniques they perfected building cars. Workers who were making steering columns in 1940 are now manufacturing machine guns. The process is identical. Specialized tools, division of labor, statistical quality control. Each worker performs specific operations repeatedly, achieving speed and consistency impossible through traditional craftsmanship. Saginaw alone produces 10,000 M1919S per month, 10,000. Buffalo Arms Corporation adds thousands more. Rock Island Arsenal contributes its share. By 1944, total American production approaches 400,000 units. Every part is interchangeable regardless of manufacturer. A gun built in Michigan can use parts from New York or Illinois without modification. This standardization multiplies combat power exponentially. Repair in the field becomes simple. Damaged weapons can be cannibalized for parts. Japan's production tells a different story. Tokyo Gas and Electric Company, Hainino Motors, and Hitachi manufacture Type 92S with peacetime precision. Each weapon requires extensive hand-fitting. Production is slow, expensive, time-consuming. From 1932 to 1945, total production barely exceeds 45,000 units. 45,000 versus nearly 400,000. The war was already decided in the factories, but numbers alone don't capture the full picture. American doctrine emphasized volume of fire and mechanical reliability over precision. Machine gun crews trained until operations became instinctive. Pull the bolt handle back twice to load, feed the belt from the left, squeeze the trigger. Immediate action drills for clearing jams, though M1919S rarely jammed. Barrel changes in seconds using an asbestos mitt. Fire and displace. Shoot bursts, then move before enemy mortars could target the position. The 45-pound weight made this practical. A crew could grab the gun and tripod and sprint to new positions. The M1919 became a mobile base of fire that could shift rapidly across the battlefield. Japanese doctrine reflected an earlier era. Type 92 crews were trained for deliberate, precise fire. Pick targets carefully, fire short bursts, conserve ammunition. This made sense given Japan's limited industrial capacity and the weapons feeding system, but it was completely unsuited to fighting American forces. While Japanese gunners aimed carefully at individual targets, 3 or 4 M1919S would simply obliterate their position with concentrated fire. The philosophical difference was fundamental. Americans treated machine guns as industrial tools for area suppression. Japanese treated them as precision instruments for targeted killing. One philosophy matched modern warfare, the other belonged to a previous century. Dean's gun falls silent, not jammed, not broken, out of ammunition. The assistant gunner has a fresh belt loaded in 5 seconds. The gun roars back to life. Total pause in fire, 5 seconds. Across the battlefield, a Japanese Type 92 crew has been struggling with a jammed feed mechanism for 2 minutes. The oil pump has failed. Debris mixed with lubricant has seized the action. The crew strips the weapon, desperately trying to clear it. They're trained for this. They practice these drills constantly because the gun requires it. But 2 minutes is an eternity in combat. American Marines advance during the silence. They close the distance. Grenades arc through the air. The Type 92 position is overrun. The gun, so beautifully crafted, so precisely fitted, lies abandoned. Later, Marines will examine it with curiosity. The workmanship is impressive, every part carefully machined, but it's covered in coral dust mixed with oil. The mechanism is frozen. Even if the crew had survived, the gun was finished. This scene repeats itself across the Pacific. Different islands, different battles, always the same result. At Henderson Field on Guadalcanal in October 1942, Marine machine gun crews fight off waves of Japanese attackers from the Sendai Division. The M1919 SS can be quickly repositioned as the Japanese probe for weak points. The lighter weight allows crews to respond to threats rapidly. Japanese Type 92S, once emplaced, become fixed targets. American artillery observers call fire missions on the distinctive muzzle flash and sound signature. The Woodpecker goes silent, permanently. Sergeant John Basilone earns the Medal of Honor that night, manning M1917 water-cooled guns. But throughout the perimeter, M1919, A4 crews demonstrate the air-cooled weapons' advantages. When positions are threatened, they grab their guns and run to reinforce. The ability to rapidly shift firepower makes the difference between holding the line and breakthrough. Private First Class Mitchell Page, another Medal of Honor recipient from that night, later describes the M1919's role in simple terms. The air-cooled 30s were the mobile reserve. When the Japanese broke through, crews could grab the gun and tripod and run to plug the gap. You couldn't do that with the water-cooled guns, and you definitely couldn't do it with a Type 92 that weighed as much as a small man. The battle becomes a pattern that will repeat for 3 more years. Japanese infantry attacks with incredible courage. American machine guns cut them down with industrial efficiency. The bravery is real. The desperation is real. But courage cannot overcome mathematics. 400 rounds per minute from belt-fed weapons versus 450 rounds per minute from 30-round strips isn't even close when you factor in reload time. The M1919's sustained rate of fire is 3 to 4 times higher than the Type 92's practical rate, and there are so many more of them. By late 1943, every Marine rifle company has multiple M1919s in the weapons platoon. Marine divisions field hundreds of these weapons, creating overlapping fields of fire that can annihilate any infantry assault. The doctrine is simple, but devastatingly effective. Machine guns are positioned to provide mutual support. If one gun jams or needs a barrel change, others increase their rate of fire to compensate. The beaten zones overlap, creating kill areas no force can cross. Japanese forces try to adapt. Training manuals begin emphasizing night infiltration and close combat, where American firepower advantages are minimized. The recognition is there in black and white. We cannot win firefights. We cannot match their automatic weapons. Our only chance is to negate their advantages by closing to hand range. This tactical desperation leads to the banzai charges that characterize late war Japanese tactics. Not because Japanese soldiers are fanatics, though propaganda on both sides will portray them that way, but because their military leadership recognizes a fundamental truth. They cannot win by trading fire with Americans. The only option is to charge through the killing zone so quickly that American guns cannot kill everyone before some reach the positions. It never works. The mathematics are too brutal. American machine guns can cut down dozens of men in seconds. Overlapping fields of fire mean there are no safe approaches. The sustained rate of fire means that even masses of charging soldiers will be mowed down before reaching American lines. Captured Japanese documents reveal growing awareness of American firepower advantage. A diary recovered from a Japanese officer on Saipan notes, "The enemy's machine guns fire continuously without pause. Our Type 92S must stop to reload every 30 rounds, while the Americans seem to have endless ammunition. We cannot advance through their fire. One American gun does the work of 5 of ours." Another report from Guadalcanal states, "Enemy automatic weapons create a solid wall of bullets. Our Woodpecker cannot compete with their sustained fire. They have removed the human element from killing. It is pure machinery. The psychological impact is crushing. Japanese soldiers nickname American positions the lawnmower for the way M1919 fire cuts down attacking waves with mechanical efficiency. The continuous chatter of American machine guns, so different from the slower talk of the Type 92, becomes a sound that demoralizes Japanese forces before attacks even begin. A captured Japanese training manual from 1944 acknowledges the enemy's superior firepower, especially their machine guns, must be neutralized by night infiltration and close combat where their advantages are minimized. Lieutenant Hiroaki Samashima, captured on Luzon, provides detailed testimony about the Type 92's failures. We knew our machine gun was inferior. The oil pump constantly failed. In jungle humidity, the oil became like glue mixing with plant matter and dirt. We spent more time cleaning than firing. The strips bent easily, and each held only 30 rounds. By the time we reloaded, the Americans had killed half our squad. We called their machine guns Hitler Zipper because of the sound, like a zipper opening, but much more terrible. The Japanese military's own analysis, found in documents at Kure Naval Base after the war, admits the Type 92 heavy machine gun has proven inadequate against American forces. Their M1919 series weapons achieve fire superiority in every engagement. Recommendations for improvement cannot be implemented due to production limitations. Units must rely on courage to overcome mechanical disadvantage. American M1919. Production maintains remarkably consistent quality throughout the war, even as monthly output increases from hundreds to thousands of units. Parts manufactured by Saginaw are completely interchangeable with those from Buffalo Arms or Rock Island Arsenal. This standardization means that weapons can be repaired in the field using parts from any manufacturer or even cannibalized from damaged weapons. Quality control remains stringent through statistical sampling and rigid specifications. The simplified manufacturing processes developed for mass production actually improve reliability by increasing tolerances and eliminating unnecessary complexity. The production lines operate with ruthless efficiency. At Saginaw's plant, workers who had been building steering columns are retrained to produce machine guns. The company applies automotive mass production techniques, specialized machine tools, assembly line organization, and division of labor. Each worker performs specific operations repeatedly, achieving speed and consistency impossible with hand craftsmanship. By 1943, Saginaw alone is producing 10,000 M1919s per month, more than Japan's total annual Type 92 production. Japanese Type 92 production, conversely, shows declining quality as the war progresses. Early Type 92s, manufactured by Tokyo Gas and Electric, feature beautiful rust blue finishes and precisely fitted parts. The company's peacetime experience producing industrial equipment shows in the weapon's exceptional fit and finish. By 1944, shortcuts are evident everywhere. Rough machining marks, simplified sights, poor metallurgy. The use of substitute materials as Japan's resources dwindle means that late-war Type 92s are prone to parts breakage. Captured examples from 1945 show cast steel replaced with inferior cast iron in non-critical parts, wooden handles instead of steel on training elevations, and simplified strip guides prone to jamming. The complex oil pump mechanism, already problematic, becomes even less reliable as manufacturing precision declines. Late-war pumps often deliver too much or too little oil, either drowning the action in lubricant that attracts debris or providing insufficient lubrication leading to extraction failures. American intelligence reports note that captured late-war Type 92s are virtually unusable without complete rebuilding. The Japanese military's own inspections reject increasing percentages of new production, but desperation means even substandard weapons are sent to combat units. The United States produces .30-06 ammunition in staggering quantities with perfect standardization. Whether manufactured in Denver, St. Louis, Salt Lake City, or dozens of other facilities, every round functions perfectly in any M1919. American forces in the Pacific receive steady supplies of ammunition shipped in moisture-proof containers that prevent the corrosion plaguing Japanese ammunition in tropical conditions. By 1944, American factories are producing over 10 billion rounds annually, enough to supply continuous fire for every machine gun in service. Innovation continues throughout the war on both the weapon and its ammunition. Improved armor-piercing M2 rounds can penetrate Japanese bunkers and aircraft. Tracer ammunition for night fighting comes in various types: standard red tracers for target marking, dim tracers for concealed positions, and delayed tracers that don't ignite until 100 yards from the gun to avoid revealing the shooter's position. Incendiary rounds prove effective against Japanese aircraft and fuel depots. Japan struggles to supply adequate quantities of 7.7 mm ammunition for the Type 92. The special semi-rimmed cartridge requires precise manufacturing that becomes increasingly difficult as American submarines strangle Japanese shipping and B-29 SES destroy factories. The ammunition comes in at least 4 different non-interchangeable variations of 7.7 mm comma, creating logistics nightmares. The 30-round strips are fragile and easily damaged. Humidity can rust them together, while rough handling bends them beyond use. Unlike the robust cloth belts of the M1919, which can be linked together indefinitely, each Type 92 strip is a separate failure-prone component. Japanese forces have no capacity for innovation. The Type 92 that fought at Guadalcanal in 1942 is essentially identical to those used in the final battles of 1945. No improvements are made to address the oil pump problems, the feed strip limitations, or the excessive weight. Japanese industry, already strained to produce basic quantities, cannot accommodate design changes that would require retooling. American machine gun crews receive extensive training stateside before deployment. The M1919 is brilliantly simple to operate. Pull the bolt handle back twice to load the weapon, feed the belt from the left side, and squeeze the trigger. Barrel changes can be accomplished in seconds with an asbestos mitt. U.S. doctrine emphasizes volume of fire and mechanical simplicity. Machine gun crews are taught to work in teams with assistant gunners managing ammunition and cooling while gunners maintain fire. The training emphasizes practical skills over ceremony. Crews practice immediate action drills until clearing jams becomes instinctive. They learn to recognize different malfunction sounds and can diagnose problems without looking. Most importantly, American gunners are taught to fire and displace, shoot bursts, then move before enemy mortars can target them. The M1919's 45-pound weight makes this practical. Crews can grab the gun and tripod and sprint to new positions. American doctrine also emphasizes fire superiority through coordination. Machine guns are employed in pairs or groups with overlapping fields of fire, creating kill zones no enemy can cross. Guns are positioned to provide mutual support. If one jams or needs a barrel change, others increase their rate of fire to compensate. Japanese Type 92 crews require extensive training just to keep their weapons operational. The oil pump must be adjusted precisely for temperature and humidity. Too much oil in cold weather congeals. Too little in hot weather causes failures. The 30-round strips must be loaded carefully to avoid bending the feed lips. The complex sights require constant calibration. Japanese doctrine emphasizes accuracy over volume, with Type 92 crews trained to fire short, precise bursts at specific targets rather than sustained suppressive fire. This philosophical difference proves fatal. Japanese gunners are taught to conserve ammunition, picking targets carefully and firing deliberately. This makes sense with limited ammunition supplies and slow reloading, but is wholly inadequate against American tactics. While a Japanese Type 92 crew carefully aims at individual Marines, 3 or 4 M1919s simply obliterate their position with concentrated fire. At Tarawa in November 1943, Marine machine gun crews prove the M1919's versatility in amphibious warfare. Despite being soaked with seawater during the landing, MM-1919S are quickly put into action. Corporal James Russell of the 2nd Marine Division destroys multiple Japanese positions with his M1919A4, advancing the gun by hand across the coral-strewn battlefield. "The gun never quit," Russell later testifies. "We'd dump water from our canteens on the barrel to cool it, wipe the sand off the belt, and keep firing. We burned through 10 boxes of ammo, 2,500 rounds, and never had a stoppage." The Japanese Type 92S defending Bishio Island, by contrast, suffer constant malfunctions from coral dust mixing with the oiling system. The Battle of Saipan in June-July 1944 provides perhaps the most dramatic demonstration of American machine gun dominance. During the massive Banzai Charge of July 7th, when 4,000 Japanese soldiers attack American positions, M1919 crews of the 27th Infantry Division create interlocking fields of fire that turn the assault into a slaughter. Sergeant Thomas Baker's M1919 crew fires continuously for 6 hours, going through case after case of ammunition. "We had spare barrels ready," his assistant gunner Carl Morrison recalls. "When one got too hot, we'd swap it out in 10 seconds and keep shooting. The Japanese just kept coming, and we just kept killing them. Our gun alone must have dropped 200 of them." On Peleliu in September 1944, the M1919's reliability in extreme conditions becomes legendary. Marines fighting in 115-degree heat find that while Japanese Type 92S seize from thermal expansion of their precisely fitted parts, M1919S continue functioning. Corporal Sterling Mace observes, "The Woodpeckers would fire a strip or two, then go silent, jammed again. Our 30s just kept hammering away. We knew we had fire superiority, and that gave us the confidence to keep advancing." The battle for Manila in February 1945 showcases urban warfare, where mobility matters. Marine and Army units equipped with MEM 1919S can rapidly redeploy their weapons from building to building, window to window. The 45-pound total weight means a 2-man team can run with the weapon system intact. Japanese Type 92 crews, burdened with 122 pounds of weapon and mount, are essentially immobile once emplaced. Lieutenant Colonel John Chazen notes, "In city fighting, the ability to shoot and move was everything. Our machine gun teams could be in a position, fire a belt, and relocate before Japanese mortars could target them. The enemy's Type 92S were death traps, too heavy to move quickly. They became fixed targets." The M1919's reliability becomes legendary among Pacific veterans. Stories circulate of guns that continued firing after being buried in sand, submerged in seawater, or caked with volcanic ash from Iwo Jima. The loose tolerances that some critics cited as reducing accuracy actually allow the weapon to function when fouled with debris, a crucial advantage in Pacific combat conditions. Marines report M1919S that fire continuously for hours, with crews pouring water from their canteens onto the barrels to keep them cool enough to continue shooting. One famous incident on Okinawa involves an M1919 that's blown off a cliff by a Japanese shell, falling 30 feet onto rocks. The gun is recovered, the bent tripod replaced, and it continues firing for the remainder of the campaign. Another M1919 on Guam is recovered from a swamp where it's been submerged for 3 days. After basic cleaning and lubrication, it functions perfectly. These stories, verified by after-action reports, build confidence in American gunners who know their weapons won't let them down. The Type 92's reputation is exactly opposite. American Marines learn to listen for the telltale silence when Type 92S jam, using these moments to advance or reposition. Veterans report that captured Type 92S are essentially useless without extensive maintenance. Even when properly cleaned and serviced, they require constant attention to keep functioning. American intelligence concludes that the Type 92 requires 5 times the maintenance hours of an M1919 to remain operational. 5 times. This multiplies across every aspect of logistics. More time spent on maintenance means less time in combat, more spare parts needed, more skilled armorers required. More everything except actual battlefield effectiveness. The Battle of Okinawa, from April to June 1945, provides the final, bloodiest comparison of these weapon systems. American forces have refined their machine gun tactics through 3 years of Pacific combat. M1919 crews work in perfect coordination, creating interlocking fields of fire that make Japanese attacks suicidal. The battle's intensity means that machine guns fire almost continuously for days at a time, providing the ultimate test of reliability and sustainability. During the massive Japanese counteroffensive of May 4, 1945, American machine guns face human wave attacks of unprecedented intensity. M1919 crews from the 96th Infantry Division fire without pause for over 12 hours. Staff Sergeant Buford Anderson's machine gun section expends 30,000 rounds in a single night, wearing out 6 spare barrels, but never experiencing a stoppage. "We just kept feeding belts and changing barrels," Anderson recalls. "The gun never quit. Bodies piled up in front of our position until they blocked our field of fire, and we had to shoot through them," Minon. Japanese Type 92 crews at Okinawa fight with incredible bravery, but are hamstrung by their weapons' limitations. The inability to sustain fire means that American forces can advance between reloading cycles. The 30-round strips are expended in seconds during intense firefights, leaving crews desperately trying to reload while under return fire. When Type 92s do score hits, the psychological effect is minimal compared to the overwhelming streams of fire from M1919 SS that can sweep an entire area clear of life in seconds. American forces capture more than 200 Type 92 machine guns during the Okinawa campaign. Intelligence teams examine them systematically. Only 12 are in working condition, 12 out of more than 200. The rest have been abandoned due to malfunctions, destroyed by their crews to prevent capture, or are so worn out as to be irreparable. Many are discovered with jammed mechanisms, broken feed strips scattered around the position, testament to their crew's desperate final moments. One telling statistic from Okinawa: American forces capture more than 200 Type 92 machine guns, but only 12 are in working condition. The rest have been abandoned due to malfunctions, destroyed by their crews, or are so worn as to be irreparable. In contrast, American M1919s that have been in continuous combat since Guadalcanal are still functioning reliably 3 years later. Post-war analysis by American ordnance experts reveals just how flawed the Type 92 design was. Tests at Aberdeen Proving Ground show that even under ideal conditions with perfect maintenance, the Type 92 cannot match the M1919's sustained rate of fire. The oil pump system is fundamentally unsuited to military use. The feed strips are obsolete technology. The excessive weight makes the weapon tactically inflexible. The report concludes, the Type 92 was a peacetime weapon unsuited for modern warfare. The contrast between the M1919 and Type 92 represents more than just different weapons. It reveals essential differences in industrial philosophy, military doctrine, and understanding of modern warfare. The American approach emphasizes mass production, standardization, and overwhelming firepower. The M1919 is designed to be manufactured by automobile companies, maintained by teenagers with minimal training, and employed in massive quantities. This philosophy extends throughout American military production: quantity with sufficient quality rather than perfect weapons in insufficient numbers. America's industrial base, already the world's largest before the war, expands dramatically to meet military needs. The same factories that build cars can build machine guns using the same workers, tools, and techniques. Japan's approach reflects a military tradition that values individual warrior skill over industrial might. The Type 92's precision manufacturing and emphasis on accuracy over volume reflects samurai traditions poorly adapted to industrial warfare. The complex oiling system and feed strips show an inability to recognize that battlefield reliability matters more than peacetime performance. The weapon's weight and complexity reveal a basic misunderstanding of modern combat's requirements, that mobility and firepower are more important than precision. The psychological impact shapes combat throughout the Pacific. American forces know their weapons are superior, breeding confidence that affects tactical decisions. Marines and soldiers stand their ground against banzai charges, trusting their M1919 to deliver the firepower needed. They advance aggressively, knowing their machine guns can suppress any Japanese position. This confidence becomes self-fulfilling. Aggressive tactics succeed because of firepower superiority, which reinforces the aggressive doctrine. Japanese forces conversely know their Type 92S can't match American weapons, leading to increasingly desperate tactics. The banzai charges characterizing late-war Japanese tactics are partly born from the recognition that they can't win firefights against superior American firepower. If you can't match the enemy's volume of fire, the only option is to close to hand-to-hand range, where firepower advantages are negated. This tactical desperation leads to enormous casualties that hasten Japan's defeat. The war's end reveals the full extent of the production disparity. The United States has manufactured nearly 390,000 M1919 machine guns in all variants, while Japan's total Type 92 production barely exceeds 45,000 units. This nearly 9-to-1 advantage in automatic weapons fundamentally shapes Pacific theater combat. American forces can afford to expend ammunition lavishly, knowing that supplies are unlimited. Japanese forces must husband every round, knowing that resupply is increasingly impossible. The M1919 continues serving American forces through Korea, Vietnam, and numerous other conflicts. Many Allied nations used the weapon into the 1990s, with some M1919s converted to 7.62 mm NATO still in service today. The design influences subsequent machine guns worldwide, with its belt feed mechanism and quick-change barrel concept becoming standard features. The Type 92, despite its limitations, earns grudging respect from American forces for the bravery of its crews. Captured weapons become prized souvenirs, though few Americans who acquire them realize how inferior they are to the M1919. Ironically, many Type 92S brought home as trophies survive in better condition today than they ever achieved in combat, lovingly maintained by collectors who have time for the constant attention these weapons require. Post-war testing confirms what battlefield experience proved. Under controlled conditions at Aberdeen Proving Ground, the M1919 passes every test. It functions reliably with minimal maintenance. It handles contamination without failure. The Type 92 fails most tests. Even under ideal conditions, it requires constant maintenance. Back on Tarawa, where this story began, Corporal William Dean survives the battle. His M1919 survives too. The same weapon that fires through the Japanese counterattack on November 20th continues serving through subsequent campaigns. The gun is still functioning when Dean rotates home in 1945. That gun exemplifies everything about why America wins the Pacific War. It works when needed. It doesn't fail at critical moments. It delivers firepower reliably in terrible conditions. It's maintained by a teenager with minimal training, and it's one of 400,000 virtually identical weapons, giving American forces overwhelming firepower advantage. The Japanese soldiers who charge across Basio Island that morning are brave. They attack knowing they will probably die. They advance into machine gun fire with determination and courage. But courage can't overcome mathematics. Determination can't beat mechanics. Spirit can't stop bullets. Dean's M1919 fires 400 rounds per minute. The Japanese Type 92S, trying to provide covering fire, manage brief bursts between jams and reloads. The mathematical reality is inescapable. American firepower is 3 to 4 times more sustained than Japanese firepower. Multiply that across hundreds of weapons and thousands of engagements, and the outcome is predetermined. The Pacific War is decided by many factors: strategy, logistics, industrial capacity, training, leadership. But at the tactical level, where soldiers actually fight and die, the war is decided by weapons that work versus weapons that don't, by machine guns that fire reliably versus machine guns that jam, by industrial design philosophy that emphasizes function versus artisan traditions that emphasize form. John Moses Browning never knows his 1919 design will help win World War II. He dies before the war starts, but his genius shapes victory in ways that battlefield commanders can't. He understands that war is industrial, that weapons are tools, that reliability and simplicity matter more than precision and beauty, that the gun that works is the gun that wins. The M1919 embodies these principles perfectly: loose tolerances that accommodate dirt and debris, simple mechanism that any soldier can maintain, robust construction that can survive abuse, design that can be mass-produced by automotive companies. Every feature serves function over form. Every design decision prioritizes reliability over precision. The Type 92 embodies different principles: precision manufacturing, careful, craftsmanship, hand-fitted parts, beautiful finish. These are virtues in peacetime. They're liabilities in war. The weapon demands perfect conditions in environments that guarantee terrible conditions. It requires skilled maintenance in situations that permit only basic care. It represents traditional values in warfare that has moved beyond those values. The human cost of this mismatch is staggering. Japanese soldiers die attacking positions they can't overcome because their supporting machine guns can't provide sustained fire. They die defending positions that can't be held because their machine guns fail at critical moments. They die because their equipment isn't adequate for the war they're fighting. The mathematics are clear: 400,000 M1919S versus 45,000 Type 92S, 400 to 600 rounds per minute, sustained versus practical rates, half that. Reliability measured in thousands of rounds between failures versus reliability measured in hundreds of rounds. Weight, allowing mobility versus weight forcing static positions. Every metric favors American forces. And those metrics translate into tactical dominance that determines strategic victory. The gun that wins the Pacific isn't any single weapon. It's the accumulated effect of hundreds of thousands of weapons that work when needed, that fire reliably in any conditions, that represent industrial capacity Japan can't match. The morning after the final battle, after the atomic bombs, after the surrender, the story remains unchanged. American M1919S are still functional, still ready, still capable of delivering the firepower that dominated every engagement. Japanese Type 92S are abandoned across the Pacific. Broken, jammed, failed, the physical evidence of industrial warfare's verdict. The lesson is clear. In modern warfare, the side with more reliable weapons produced in greater quantities wins. Courage matters, tactics matter, training matters, but equipment matters more. The weapon that works beats the weapon that doesn't. Every time. Without exception. Without mercy. The M1919 Browning is that weapon. Simple, reliable, mass-produced, adequate, and absolutely dominant in the role it's designed for. It's the gun that wins the Pacific, not through any single dramatic moment, but through 400,000 individual instances of working when needed, of firing when triggers are pulled, of functioning when conditions are terrible, of being there reliably every time. That's how wars are won. Not by perfect weapons in insufficient numbers, but by adequate weapons in overwhelming quantities. Not by craftsmanship and precision, but by reliability and mass production. Not by individual excellence, but by systematic capability. John Moses Browning understands this. American industry embraces it. The M1919 exemplifies it, and the Pacific War proves it. The gun that wins the Pacific wins because it's designed to win. not to impress, not to be beautiful, but to work, reliably, continuously, inevitably, and it does.